Very soon, Trump plans on rolling out his strategy to lower drug prices for Americans, which is a lofty goal, a fantastic goal, something that I myself am very supportive of, even considering the fact that I think Trump is a complete and utter failure as a president. Now, with that said, though, he has reneged on a campaign promise involving Medicare being able to negotiate drug prices and lower the prices for the government, because remember, the government is spending the money to buy these, or spending the money on this program, and the recipients could really use some help when it comes to affording some of these drugs. Now, a senior administration official spoke to the press about this and said the following: "We are not calling for Medicare negotiation in the way that Democrats have called for. We clearly want to make important changes that will dramatically improve the way negotiation takes place inside the Medicare program."
Let me just translate what that means. We're not negotiating drug prices with the pharmaceutical companies, period.
Yeah. Okay, so what are they gonna do? And again, we don't know specifics yet because Trump hasn't laid out the specifics. But let me just quickly explain how the process works with Medicare. So there are private entities. The private entities are the only entities that do any type of negotiation. Private entities, insurance companies, and the middlemen known as pharmacy benefit managers negotiate the prices with the drug makers. Under a 2003 law, though, the federal government may not interfere in those negotiations. Just part of the reason why, pharmaceutical companies get to charge us insanely high prices compared to what other countries are paying for.
So let me get to the core of that, though. So if you're confused by that process, the bottom line is we spend $300 billion a year on prescription drugs, and over 40% of that is through Medicare and Medicaid. So if the government wanted to negotiate drug prices, which it should, it could use its to our benefit. It could use its tremendous leverage over the drug makers to lower all of our prices and save us tens of billions of dollars. But the government has unilaterally disarmed and said, we are not going to negotiate. We're just going to almost let them charge whatever they want.
That's right.
And this, if you lived in a democracy, would be unthinkable. And most of the rest of the developed world does live in democracies, and they don't allow their drug companies to run their government. So they do negotiate, and their drug prices are a lot lower. A trick about that is coming up in this story, because this is the wholesale sellout to the drug companies in this story is unreal. So, but bottom line is, our country is not a democracy. So George Bush made a deal saying the drug companies, who are the #1 donors to politicians, we will not use our leverage. We will make sure that American people pay more for your drugs than they should and they would in any other country. Barack Obama came into office and said, "Oh, I'm going to end that," and he didn't, because he also takes donor money, and so do the Democrats. So he sold you out and kept the drug companies overcharging you and did not use the leverage. His excuse was, well, I had to do the Heritage Foundation plan for healthcare, and I couldn't get it through unless I did everything the drug companies wanted. Okay, you can do whatever you like with that excuse. Then Trump comes in, and what do we want? We want the government to lower the drug prices. So since he's a sleazy politician, he knows he's lying. His drug companies are the biggest donors. He's going to do exactly what the donors tell him to do. That's all he cares about. So he says, oh, I'll lower it. I'll make sure the government negotiates. Gets in office, says, just kidding, lied to you. I'm a sleazy, gross, as Blankenship would say, swamper. Okay, I'm a politician, and just like everyone else, I'm gonna sell you out. I never meant any of it. Drug companies, you get everything you want.
Right, so since the Trump administration is not going to fight so Medicare or the government can negotiate drug prices, what do they plan on doing? Well, first, Trump is gonna do what he usually does. He's gonna target other countries. How does that make any sense? Let me explain. The administration will put pressure on foreign countries to relax drug price controls in the belief that pharmaceutical companies can lower prices in the United States. Okay, so here is a little summary coming from the White House. Other countries use socialized healthcare to command unfairly low prices from US drug makers. This places the burden of financing drug development largely on American patients and taxpayers, subsidizes foreign consumers, and reduces innovation and the development of new treatments. So again, as always, Trump is saying it's every other country's fault. They're the ones that are screwing us over, and so we need to do something about that. No, homeboy, I know you think that you're the king of the United States and you don't understand how democracy works, but you don't have any power over all these other countries who are doing the right thing by their citizens and making sure that they can afford the pharmaceutical drugs that save their lives.
And it's actually a little worse than that. So he's so beholden to drug companies, and get a load of this trick. So he says, not only am I not lowering drug prices in America, I'm going to demand that other countries also increase their drug prices. I'm going to use every piece of leverage we have to not help you, but to help the drug companies overcharge in other countries as well. And then the trick part of it is, they're calling it foreign freeloading. If they weren't paying such a low price, we'd be paying a lower price. Great, are we going to? No, it's not gonna affect our prices at all because I'm not gonna negotiate with them. I just want them to pay more. Why? It's a double win for pharmaceutical companies. They get to keep charging more here and they will charge more to foreign companies if this pressure from Trump works. And then he gets to say, it's their fault, the other countries, the bad countries, okay? But meanwhile, my donors, precious, my donors. What a scumbag of a politician.
Yeah, so this is kind of like how Mexico's supposed to pay for the wall, right? It's just at this point such a broken record. I don't understand what it would take to take the record off the record player, because his appeal to populism is constantly peppered with xenophobia and broism. Like all this talk of this deal is about how he is a master negotiator and he's the one who can make that deal that hasn't happened before, because most of the people within establishment politics are in the pockets of these pharmaceutical companies. That's why we call it big pharma. And it's so unfortunate to load this blame on other foreign countries that have actually negotiated subsidizing medicine in their countries. We've had medical care in different countries and have been, me and Anna for sure, we've talked about this, been surprised as foreigners being in these countries how low drug prices are without even having citizenship to these countries. I was in Morocco, a developing country, and I paid $1 or $2 for anti-nausea pills that would be so much more expensive. They were pharmaceutical level pills. They were prescription level pills. And so for a country like that to accuse that kind of country for our shameless, obsequious butting up to a pharmaceutical company that also, they were talking about the fact that we are creating innovative pharmaceutical solutions that all the other countries are ripping off of us. For us to create that kind of argument is to further suggest our distancing from actually serving the people that Trump said he was going to serve. Blue collar workers, people who can't afford this, people on Medicare who are in need of affordable access to medication, and also a way to get off the debt of all these like rising medical bills.
I just want to ask people, like, have you had enough yet? You know what I mean? Like every day, every single day, when I hear Donald Trump say the previous administration, and I continue to hear about his obsession with Barack Obama and doing everything that Barack Obama allegedly did. But I just, as a person, as a constituent, as a person who has to have medication, and I think about all of those poor people who voted this administration in office and supported like a cult. Like, what more do you need to suffer before you make the decision that this needs to go? And that's just, that's really where I am. Like, and I learned a new word today. I'm excited to be here, but I'm really just thinking, like, I sit down and still have conversations with people who are super Donald Trump supporters. I have to work with them in my field of comedy. They have TV shows now. They're out there, and it's like this blind loyalty that does you bite your nose to spite your face. Like this just, my mom is a poor woman who was on Medicare. You know what I mean? Like, I have to think collectively. We got to think about everybody. And it's just like, how much more do you need to get popped before you say, this is not good for me? So
us, on the other hand, you think, what the mainstream media, cable news does is everything's 50-50. So, the right wing are zealots, but the left-wing are zealots. That's not true. It depends on who you're talking about. So if Donald Trump had actually followed through and said, you know what, I am having the government negotiate drug pricing with Medicare, I would have said that's fantastic, give him credit. So, the prisoners are released from North Korea, great, give him credit. If he gets a peace deal with North Korea, I'll give him all the credit in the world. All I care about is results. He got us out of TPP for the moment being, give him credit. If he's doing those things. In fact, there's a part of this bill that I think you should give him credit on. But I know that the right wing is not gonna get moved. No matter how much he violates his promises, no matter how much they see that their drug prices did not actually go down. They didn't go down. But I think that the reason why it's important is because I think the independents can be moved. So the guys in the red hats, they've almost literally been brainwashed. Yeah. And so they're like zombies. You could punch them in the face and say Donald Trump did it. Oh, good, I wanted to be punched in the face. I love broken noses. Oh, you snowflakes, you don't like broken noses?
You're soft.
In fact, if you remember from election night primary coverage from this week, a voter in West Virginia said that 3 of his cousins had died in the mining explosion that happened under Don Blankenship. And Blankenship went to prison because he purposely did not do the safety in those mines that he needed to. That guy lost 3 family members and voted for Blankenship. And when they asked him why, he's like, at least she's an honest crook.
I can't.
Okay, so my analogy with the broken nose was actually too light.
Yeah.
Actually, in real life, it's more severe than that. So those MAGA guys are never gonna be convinced. I'm not kidding myself. But for independents, part of the reason that you guys, some of you voted for him was because you thought he would do his campaign promises, universal health care coverage. He said, I'm not like the other Republicans. I know this is not gonna be popular in my party, but I'm gonna cover everybody. Everybody's gonna have health care, the best health care. And then he never did it. He said he was gonna close a hedge fund tax loophole. And that was a good thing, and I said at the campaign, I said, I don't believe anything he says, he's a pathological liar. I studied his whole career, all he ever does is lie. But if he were to do that, I'll give him all the credit in the world. Then they do the tax cut, he's like, no loopholes need to be closed. The hedge funds are great, they're fantastic. We have the best hedge funds. And it goes on and on. In this case, he's not gonna lower your drug prices, and the MAGA guys will take it, but the independents at some point go, oh yeah, it turns out he was a sleazy politician.
But this is the power of racism, and where independents have to inspect sometimes their inner racism that they might not want to confront. I know that the MAGA guys have it for sure, but racism will, sorry for the use of word, Trump class in so many ways. As Toni Morrison said in an interview, racism at its greatest in terms of how it works is distracting people from the real work and from the real issues. And so he knows that, and this is why he's using the race bait constantly over and over again to attract his followers to be distracted from the actual issues at hand. So he doesn't have to be accountable to his campaign promises because he can just blame it on all those other people who are freeloading.
That's right.
And so in this particular case, how does that apply? So your drug prices are not going down, but he says, oh, it's the foreign countries that are freeloading. Wait, it's our drug companies. It's not like it's Mexican drug companies or Iranian drug companies. It's ours, and you can negotiate with them, but you're choosing not to. You're our president, right? And he's like, yeah, but Mexico. Opioid crisis. It's our drug companies that are causing it. It's like, oh, their drugs are coming from Mexico. No, wait a minute. The opioids are not coming from Mexico. They're being produced here in America by American companies. Yep. But in that regard, Matthew, you're right. They're his followers here in Mexico. They're like, good enough for me. Somebody punch me in the face and we'll blame it on Mexico.
Yeah.
But for independents, I'm hoping that they're still open-minded enough, and I believe it, because I believe that, yes, race is a huge factor for whatever percentage of the country that you want to put on it, 20, 25, 33%, et cetera. But these issues that actually affect real Americans are also relevant to the independents that do decide elections. And so on that ground, let me just come back to the one thing I was going to give them credit on. In this proposal, if it ever goes through, are a couple of good things. It would allow low-income people on Medicare to obtain free generic drugs without co-payments. Again, it's got to make it through the Republican Congress. They'll probably kill that part. But okay, if it does, that's positive movement. And another one is it would overall limit Medicare beneficiaries out-of-pocket costs for prescription drugs. That would also be very good. So now, by the way though, what is the uniting theme of all of this? Even those good proposals come from the US taxpayers, and that's okay, I'm in favor of it anyway, but it doesn't do anything to the drug companies.
That's right.
The drug companies still make their money. It's just whether you pay them, the random taxpayer pays them, but somebody's paying them. The uniting theme of all of this is the drug companies get everything they ever wanted. It's not an accident that they're the #1 donors to politicians. This is what they paid for so that they give the politicians millions of dollars, and in return, they get billions of dollars from you.
I have to add one more thing before we go to break. So, look, the administration is saying that foreign countries placing price controls on pharmaceutical drugs places the burden of financing drug development largely on American patients. No. If you are part of a group of corporations in America that has enough disposable income to constantly lobby politicians, in fact, be the #1 lobbying group in the country, you don't need help financing anything, okay? Pharmaceutical companies are not struggling to stay afloat. They're doing fine. In fact, they're doing more than fine. And just this notion that, oh, Americans really have to support these pharmaceutical companies because these foreign countries, they're not paying enough for the drugs, is just ridiculous, ridiculous.
And so to finish up on that, if, for example, a pharmaceutical company was not making enough money in France or Mexico or Canada, they would stop selling drugs there.
Yeah.
They still make a profit, that's why they sell it there. So the whole thing is a total lie. Yeah. They make a profit there. Here, they make a killing because unlike in Canada and France, they bought off our government and we allowed them to. So, and they bought Bush, they bought Obama, and now they've bought Trump lock, stock, and barrel. That's what you got, a corrupt, terrible, terrible politician. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.